Oh, there we go. I think it's working. Evening, everybody. Where's the camera? I was looking at Kath. She's over there. Actually, I just thought, is there? I was just looking at the case. Look at people. RGB. Right, oh, we've got a few people in here already. How's the stream? Is the stream okay? Is it laggy? Sound okay? All that kind of stuff? You getting it? I'm set to 50 frames per second, and I don't know if this is actually going to work, because I don't think my internet's going to do it. So let me know what you think. So let's say a quick hello to those of you who've joined already. So we've got the Blind Bard, we got Kath Churchill, well, she's here obviously. Captain Meets Adventures, how you doing? ClickTech Kev, evening Kev. Dinio8 Gaming, good evening to you. That is all. Ah, yeah, you're one of our Twitter friends. And if you haven't signed up for us on Twitter, make sure you're signed up on Twitter so you can see all the stupid things that I post. Custom Adventurist. Hey, we've got an American in the house, Custom Adventurist. Now, if you guys, as is usual with these streams, it's completely impromptu. I've not prepared at all in the slightest, apart from maybe turning on a PC. But do me a favor, we're all about growing channels and growing each other's channels. So if you see someone in the chat, do me a favor, check out their channel. If you like it, subscribe to it. ClickTech UK, Kev, we've chatted many times, and yeah, he's a great guy. Custom Adventurist, now he's got a great channel. There's a lot of reviews of AirPods and AirPod clones, all that kind of stuff. And recently actually did a video of his kind of his studio tour, and hopefully there's going to be another one come in to see how he improves on that studio and how he's growing his channel. So good luck to you, buddy. Stream is good. Okay. Captain, good to see you back live in 3D. Yes, I am live and in 3D. Multiple dimensions. Seaman Knight's in the house. Good evening to you. Seaman Knight says, it looks like the case should have a gold chain and a shell suit on. To be honest with you, I think it probably does. What do you guys think of it? This is actually, before we go too far into this, this is a new chassis which has been released by Sahara Gaming. I'm not sure whether they're available throughout Europe and the US and all that kind of stuff. It may just be in the UK, I'm not entirely sure, but if you go to, well, just type in Sahara Gaming, you should get a link to your relative countries. This is their new case. This is the EK33. Now, I'm doing this kind of in reverse. I've actually recorded the video of the unboxing of this and going through all the specs and features and all that kind of stuff that I normally do. But because we've had a bit of a backlog of work, I thought I would actually do the live stream going through the build and the case and its features and its problems as well. And also just to give you guys a kind of a sneak peek for all of you kind of loyal people who come into these live streams. You deserve to see it first, so I thought I'd do it for you lot before I do it for the mass public. Kath says hello to Emma and Peanut. Oh, and I do as well, probably. Now actually, if you are into rather silly videos and a bit of fun, there is a channel on here. What's he changed it to now? Is it, I'll have to have a look through, is Captain Meets Adventures. Now, if you'd like to see something which is slightly sublime and a bit nutty and very much meat-based, check out Captain Meets Adventures. Dude, seriously, you need to see someone and have a long talk, because there's something seriously wrong with you. But it is very funny. Seaman Knight's asking already, straight in there with the questions. What is the main difference between this and the P35? Now, I don't actually own the P35. I've only seen some videos, so I'm not sure exactly of the specifications of it. But from what I can tell, this chassis is very much based around the kind of the P35 chassis. So if you've already seen the Sahara Gaming P35 chassis, you'll be pretty much in the same ballpark as this. I think it's got pretty much the same setup. They've definitely used this chassis or reused the chassis from another setup. That is definitely for sure. The main difference I would say really is probably the RGB controller. I'm not sure about the P35. This one can take up to 9 fans. Yeah, 9 fans. And also it comes in different flavors as well, so you get the case as it is, with all this RGB goodness, with a remote control, so you can control it also if you just press the on-off button. You can turn all that stuff off, so you don't have to have RGB if you don't want to. Also, it's got a pass-through for the RGB, so if you've got a motherboard that's actually got RGB controls, addressable RGB that is, you can plug it into the motherboard and control it from there. So if you maybe you're doing an upgrade and maybe you've got an older system which hasn't got any RGB, then you can use this, use the onboard controller, change it all from here. Then if you upgrade your motherboard with addressable RGB, you can plug it in and take control through your software, which is pretty cool. Captain Meets Adventures says, Mike, thanks for the mention. You're very welcome, because you are slightly mad. Superknight's asking about the fans. Is it their fans or any RGB fans? Now that is one of the drawbacks of this. Well, I say a drawback. I don't really think it is a drawback, but it may be limiting to some people if you've already got a good selection of fans. Now this only works with the Sahara fans, so they've got their own proprietary 6-pin connector which fits into the RGB controller on the back. The controller is built in as well, so you can attach up to 10 fans on that controller. So again, if you've already got a set of fans, maybe Corsair or something like that, then this probably isn't for you. Although saying that, you can get just a plain vanilla version of this without any RGB, without the controller, just the case itself, and you could put that in there and save yourself money. It's about £30 cheaper without the fans and the RGB controller. Oh, that's a good point. ClickTech UK, he actually did a review of the P35 on his channel, so if you want to check out what that is like, then obviously head on over to ClickTech UK's channel and check it out. Kath says I've got to go back up to, what was it? Oh, Ostro. Sorry, didn't see you there in the chat. Now, actually, for those of you that are YouTubers watching this, if you do live streams, have you noticed how bad the new YouTube studio is, the Creator Studio? Oh my God. I could do a whole video based on how bad the new beta is for YouTube creators. It is absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, I don't know how anyone's supposed to create videos or organise content or do live streams with the new setup. And that's actually going to be the default kind of app soon, which is absolutely terrifying. Anyway, moving on. So, where are we? Right, okay, let's have a look at this case. Let's go through the case and I'll hopefully try and answer some questions as we go through. So, first of all, starting with the case, obviously, as you can see at the front, you've got 3 120mm fans. Now, the fans themselves, again, you don't have to use if you don't want to. Space for 3 120s. You can't get a 360mm radiator in there. You can only get a 240. You might be able to squeeze in a 280 if you're a little bit ingenious and don't mind bending a few metal bits. It is really designed for a 240 radiator, which is a shame, but the basement at the bottom actually does go the full length up to the fans. So for that last fan, which actually does go into the basement area, you would really struggle there. I'll actually tell you what I'll do. I'll take the side panel off and you can have a better look inside. Now there may be some reflecto pouring now in the glass because Kath is sat over there wearing very little tonight. I can't see what is on the screen because there's a delay. So I do apologise if she's moving out of the way now. So what's the weather like for all you people out there? Here in the UK at the moment we're having a little bit of a heat wave. So today it was like 28 degrees, which for UK is pretty warm. And that's quite a good feature. You can take the screws off, thumb screws, and the glass panel doesn't just fall off, which is pretty good. Let's put that down. Put that. Hey, whoa, steady. Losing screws already. Brand new build. I'm losing screws. So, what do you think? You can see the inside of it now pretty well. I've got my my crazy RGB RAM, which I actually really like. Although it doesn't synchronise properly with this motherboard, which is a little bit of a nose, which I think is possibly a Bristolian word. But having said that, I think the RAM actually goes really well with all the fans in the RGB. Don't know if you can quite see that. Let's change it to the other camera, which might be working. Yay, there we go. So you can get a better idea of what's going on inside here now. So there is the basement. Let's see if I can get a better angle there. No, I can't because I am a bit stupid. There we go. So as you can see there, there's the fans. Oh, that's me. And you can see that that last fan at the bottom goes actually into the basement. And there is virtually no room there whatsoever. I'm sorry about the lighting, guys, but it is what it is. So you see, but the basement actually does have room for, as you can possibly see, you can actually fit 3 fans in the basement. So you can pull air up through there from the bottom and create some kind of crazy airflow. Now, I don't know what you, I'm actually, another apology. I must apologise for the ketchup and mustard going on for the power supply. I am expecting a new power supply from Rio Toro, actually, the Enigma G2, I think it is, 650 gold, but it hasn't arrived yet in time for this build, so I had to use what I had. Sorry, this camera is awful. There we go. You can see it better now. So in the top, you've got room for 2 120mm fans, and also you can get in there 2 140mm fans. And obviously, because of that, you can put in a radiator, either a 120, a 140, a 280, or a 240. That was pretty hard for my little brain. And as you can see at the top, you've actually got a mounting point there, so you can put in a 5¼ inch bay. So if you wanted to add your own controller of some sort, then you totally can. The front panel here, this section, this is removable. Again, sorry about the light, but yes, you can just about see the gap there. So this actually comes out. On the front, you've got 2 USB 3.0, 2 USB 2.0, you've got your headphone and you've got your microphone. This is a little bit of a problem area for me. I don't know if you can make it out really, because the lighting is shockingly bad. Can you make that out? No, you can't. But basically, there is the reset button and there is the RGB button. So you press the RGB button, you can cycle through the RGB, but weirdly, you've got a reset button right next to it and they both stick out a little bit. So you could accidentally hit that quite easily. The Sahara logo on the LED on the button is illuminated, which some people may like, some people may hate. And on the top, we've got this removable magnetic filter. And again, loads and loads of access on the top. And what I did find weird is there's a hole here. Now, does anybody know what that hole is for there? I have not got a clue what that is for. What is going on?
That's for peanuts going.
It's like some kind of escape hatch for mice or something, I don't know. Or peanuts maybe. Right, looking inside, so you've got the 120mm on the back. You can't get anything bigger in there, but you can adjust the height, so you can move that around if you want to. Loads and loads of clearance on the top, so if you want to put a radiator and fans in there, you can do quite easily. And there's loads of room there for wiring. No rubber grommets, unfortunately. It's all metal, but it's nicely rounded off. And I have rubbed my fingers along it very vigorously and didn't get any cuts, burns, or anything like that. Burns? Why would I get burns? What's the matter with me? On the side, you've got options there for SSDs. So you can put a load of SSDs along there. So 1, 2, you could probably get 3 in there, I reckon. So again, loads and loads of storage space, loads of cutouts on the bottom again. So you've got a cutout there, you've got a couple underneath if I can get in there. So where all your cables come through, you've got a section, 3 cutouts, so you can add your HD audio and all that kind of stuff. And plenty of room for graphics cards, as you can see. That's a relatively largest card, and you could get something in there much bigger if you wanted to. There's a good few inches there to add another card. And let's have a little close up of the RAM again. Look at that RAM. Isn't that RAM just insane? I do love that RAM. And there's the Arctic Cooler Freezer 34, keeping it all nice and cool. So there we go. I'll switch back to the other camera now. It's getting hot in here. So take off all my clothes. Right, there we go. What do you reckon? And actually, while we're thinking of it, well, I'm thinking of it, you're not, because you don't know what I'm going to say. In fact, I don't know what I'm going to say half the time. What do you think this case costs? I don't think it's actually available yet. It may well be, so don't cheat and Google it, because winners don't cheat. Well, they probably do. But let me know in the comments what price would you put on this case? Obviously not without the PC stuff, but with the fans and the RGB controller, remote control, tempered glass, full ATX, takes extended ATX, loads of flexibility. What would you expect to pay for this kind of case? I'll quickly look in the comment section to see what you think. Let's have a quick look through the what's that? Let's have a look. Yeah, Discotech. Yeah, shared on the Discotech server. It should be. It is a disco. It is actually. I don't know. I know really I shouldn't like it, but I actually really love all the RGB colours.
Paul said it's like Blackpool Tower.
It is like a Blackpool Tower. Captain Meat says, oh, actually, I get it now. Blind Bard, Mike, I've shared your stream in the Discotech server. Now, Discotech is Blind Bard's server, is Twitch server. I was thinking, and Kath was thinking then, that because it is like a mobile disco in there. So, yeah, both work. Captain Meat's Adventures, Mike, does this case get warm? Do you need to add extra fans? I think extra fans would probably be necessary because, yeah, there's a lot of heat building up. It's actually really hot in here at the moment, actually. Sorry, I'm going to have a beer. What are we drinking tonight, everybody? I'm working tomorrow, so I'm having kind of drive-in beer. This is not low alcohol, but cheap. And it's bitter as well, actually. This is Ashfield. Ashfield Original Bitter. It's actually quite nice. Cheers, everybody. Super Night, is the airflow restricted by the closed panel? I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure what you mean by the closed panel. You have to elaborate on that. I don't think there is actually any closed panels in here. I think it's all pretty much well ventilated. The front is completely mesh. The side window is anything really which is solid. The rest of it all pretty much is perforated. Clicked at Ute says looks the same as the P35. Yeah, like I said, I'm pretty sure it is essentially just a modification or a kind of a sideways glance at the P35, which I think for some people the P35 did actually suffer slightly with cooling because of that complete glass front panel. There was airflow on the sides, but you're never going to get quite the airflow that you get from a complete mesh. Evening, Jared. Nice for you to... Jared Miller? Mr. Miller. Nice for you to join us. Next level. Mike, you got a beer? Yes, I have. Sky Stalker's in the house. Good evening to you, Sky Stalker. One of our friends from the good old town of Canada. Yeah, Aletta has just woke up. I'm not sure what the time zone is there, so that could be normal or not, I don't know. Sky Stalker says, Mike, that hole could be for external water cooling. I did actually think of that. The hole actually would be a really good place to put a fill-in loop if you're going like all out for a custom water cooling setup. It does look about the right size for a custom setup. You could quite easily get a fill loop pipe in there. It probably wouldn't interfere too much with anything else that's going on either. But I don't know for sure. I'll find out. Captain Meat's Adventures says USB-Cs. No, we've got no USB-Cs on this case, which actually is a bit of a shame. I think USB-C would have actually been a really, really good addition on this. It's nice having 4 USBs on the front, 2 USB 3.0, 2 USB 2.0, but yeah, the USB-C would be a nice addition. And in fact, I've just kind of put, this is my video editing PC, so this has all been in my Nvme 101C case, which did have USB-C, but I got to be honest with you, I never found myself using it. I don't think I've used the USB-C for actually anything at all. I generally tend to use USB-C to USB-A for charging, that kind of stuff, so yeah, that is pretty much it. Skystalker said, well, actually, let's look at the pricing. Let's see what the guesses are like. So, have some cherry wine. Seaman Knight says £75, which actually that's a very, very good guess. As far as I know at the moment, again, this is kind of like an early release, I think. It's looking like it's going to be about 70 to £80, depending on where you buy it from. Dino8 says £70, ClickTech saying 50, Jared saying $100. So $100 equates to what, about £80, £90 at the moment. So yeah, you're in the right ballpark. Aletta says she wouldn't pay over $90 for it. So again, that is pretty much what you'd be looking at. Skystalker, £40. If actually the case on its own, which they are selling, I'm not sure when you joined the video, but this case is actually available without all the RGB bling and the controller for, I think it's going to be around about £40 to £50. I priced the individual RGB components up as being, the fans retail for about anywhere between £5 to £10 each. So let's say £7, you've got 4 of them included, so that is £28. The RGB controller on the back, around about the £10 mark. So you're looking at about £38 worth of value for the RGB components alone. If the case retails for about £75, give or take, or say 80 to make life easier, it's looking like a £40 to £45 case on its own, which actually I don't think is too bad. I think it's, for a budget case, actually, it does tick an awful lot of boxes. Good filtration. There's a big filter on the bottom, which I'm not going to show because, anyway, whatever. I think it's a pretty decent case. The Blind Bard would like to say 300. You're more than welcome to say 300. 300 is great, and if you want to pay £300 for it, I will sell you this case for £300. I might even throw in a little bit of change if you're lucky. Seth's in the house as well, from Ghana. How you doing? Thank you to join. Yes, Captain Meat's Adventures is on the Brewdog beer. Oh, Seaman Knight saying, sorry, I thought the front was glass, which is why I said closed panel. Yeah, I'll flip it around again, so hopefully you can see a little bit better. I know this camera setup isn't the greatest, so you can see it is, well, I don't know if you can see it. On certain angles you can just about see it. It is actually a full mesh. Yeah, I suppose you can see it there a little bit. No, you can't actually. You can't. Showing a mesh on a camera is never a good idea, is it really? Skystalker saying that £80 is 130 Canadian dollars, so that is on the upper end of the scale. Yeah, with the full RGB implementation, that is what concerns me actually about this case. For who it's aimed at, which would be, I would say, the kind of mid-range enthusiast with a slight budget twist, I don't know if the price is getting a little bit too high up the chain to make it competitive. There is a lot of competition around about the kind of £70–80 mark in the UK case-wise. I'm guessing that's pretty much the same deal in the US and Canada, where there's a massive amount of competition. There's lots of other brands. But having said that, there are some cases, I would say this probably is along the lines of the kind of the Fantex, the new P350 I think it is, with the mesh front. It's a very similar performing. Sorry, looking at Kath, she put her finger up, she has a question. Excuse me people, Kath has a question.
It looks like the Charcoon, but you missed all that.
Oh right, okay. Seaman Knight says that the case looks like the one of the Charcoon cases. A lot of them, they do all look very similar at the moment actually. That is one thing that yeah, there isn't really any real innovation in the case market at the moment. Everyone's kind of, it's like the mobile phone market. You kind of like, Apple came out with the iPhone, the tablet, the soap bar design with basically a screen on the front. as big as possible, and that's probably it. And cases have done the same way really. Nvme are probably the only ones who have kind of gone a little bit outside of the thinking box and have sort of come up with some kind of really unusual designs really, and different ways of working with like airflow from underneath and weird designs. But pretty much all other cases on the market essentially are this setup. So either glass side, glass front, or mesh front. There's very little else they can do. Yeah, the one behind me, the Sharkoon case, essentially if I spin that around, apart from the feet being different and the basement being at the top, essentially there's not really a lot you can do with ATX. It's a pretty much a defined layout. Anyway, let's have a look at the other side so you can see how bad my wiring is. Whoa, easy.
Do you think my Asus Prime A320MK motherboard will work with Corsair RM850W and AMD Ryzen 5?
There was a question which I'm going to have to go back up to. Which, who is it, Kath, who asked the question? Dino8. How far up is that?
Bystalkers 2.
Sorry about this, people. Please amuse yourselves by abusing yourselves. Sorry, yeah, Dino8 Gaming. Mike, do you think my Asus Prime A320M-K motherboard will work with Corsair RM850W and a Ryzen 5 3600X and EVGA 2060 Super Gaming 8GB if I update my BIOS? Yeah, definitely. I don't see any reason why not. Actually, that's a really good setup. And funny enough, actually, that is one of the videos I made ages ago about the that motherboard, the AM320M-K, the Asus. Actually, no, I did. Was it Asus Prime? I can't remember which one it was. I'm pretty sure it was that board, but yeah, it was really cheap over here, and being an A320 chip. But it's actually got a lot of traction and a lot of questions and a lot of input, and it's amazing to see how many OEMs are actually using that board in their systems. Systems which have got like Ryzen 7s, 2080 RTX cards, really high-end components on what is essentially a very low-end budget board. But it seems to run really well. Anyway, I'm digressing. So this is the weird bit on this back panel. So on the back panel, solid back panel, but at the top you've got these perforations, which I'm not entirely sure if you can, if I hold it there, you can just like see there. You've got some odd perforations, which I don't know why they're there. They make sense because of where the PC is. So let's put this down, lose my screws. So if we flip this round, so you can see how bad the wiring is and also see, what's that? Oh, sorry, it's my cup. Oh my days. Oh, I used the wrong cable, never mind. So you can see the back. Now, considering how much wiring is in there, there's 4 fans in there, all that RGB, and my setup. So currently I've got everything routed into here. So there's the RGB controller, and I said you can put 10 devices or 10 fans all connected to there. It is powered from a Molex connector, which for me actually I don't mind. It's absolutely fine because on my power supply there was one Molex cable which was literally just Molex. So I've dedicated the entire part of that cable just to the RGB, so it's not interfering with any of my SATA stuff. It's not interfering with anything else. So literally I'll just run the cable along the bottom, up the side, and it's absolutely fine. So for me, actually this being Molex is actually a blessing, because I think if it was SATA, then I'll be thinking, right, I've got to run another SATA cable up to it, or I've got to take a spur off of one of the drives. Now, being that this is kind of, if we're being honest, this is a relatively cheaply made Chinese component. So there's always a potential with these things for them to go wrong and give off the old blue smoke, which we don't like. Not saying that it will, and I'm not trying to degrade the component in any way, but these things do happen. Components are mass produced on a very low margin, so they can have things happen to them. So I would much rather have that on a different part of the wiring, i.e. on the Molex, where I'm not using it for anything else, just to keep it separate should anything go wrong. That's probably a terrible thing to say, but I think most of you will agree with what I'm saying there. It's actually almost like a safety feature by isolating it from the rest of the system. Anyway, so moving down from there, at the bottom you've got section for drives, so 2 3.5-inch drives or 2 2.5-inch drives. There is actually rubber grommets around the outside edge of the case, the caddy rather, which is not easy for me to get to right here. Let's see if I can get that on, because I've actually put a SATA cable through it ready for another drive to go in. So there is the caddy. It's actually got some really thick rubber damping around the outside edges, which if any of you are using mechanical hard drives, which I know are kind of a little bit old school these days, but if you are using older technology drives now, oh, that sounds terrible. What a dick I am. If you're using mechanical drives, they do have a tendency to make a noise. They resonate, and even in the biggest cases with the most dampening and all that kind of stuff, you always get that kind of, there's a distinct mechanical hum that comes from mechanical drives, and you just can't get around it. And it depends on what you're on. If you put it on a piece of carpet, it's generally going to be fine, but on most kind of modern desks, modern laminate flooring, all that kind of stuff, the noise will travel. So by them putting this really thick rubber in there, it has actually minimized it. Now I'll be completely honest, I have actually disconnected the hard drive purely for the reason that it was resonating, and I thought because I'm doing this video, I've got my lav mic on, I'm going to be right next to it, and the last thing I want is for you guys and girls to have to experience droning even more than what I do. So I have disconnected that, so complete transparency there. Even though these are rubberized, there is some vibrational noise which does still come through the chassis. Wow, this is an honest review. It had to happen. But I think that's the best way forward, to be honest about these things, because the last thing I want is, like, if I recommend a product or I showcase a product, the last thing I want is for people like you to go out and buy it, and then me be flooded with comments in the section below saying this is rubbish, why did I buy this, you're an idiot, all that kind of stuff. So that's why I'm completely honest on that front. If there's something I think was maybe a bit iffy or not quite right or whatever, I'll tell you, because, well, that's what it's all about. Anyway, so moving on, power supply wise on the bottom, plenty of room in there. The drive cage, between the drive cage and the power supply, there's a good maybe 3 or 4 inches there, and I've stuffed as many cables as I can in there. I actually did think about tidying this up a little bit more, but I'm going to be changing the power supply out pretty quickly, so I've left it as is. You could have put the RGB controller in this section quite easily. I just chose to put it there because, well, it just worked out for me at the time. Again, I'm not too sure how they're going to end up shipping these. I actually had it shipped with the RGB controller and all the fans separately, so I had to install them myself. Whether or not if you buy one of these with the full RGB complement, it's going to be pre-installed and that is going to be there or wherever, I honestly don't know. So it's only on double-sided tape, so you can always move it. Yeah, there is the back end of the bus. So I'll have a quick look at the questions now, see if anyone's got any anything going on. So, well, actually, Mike, you've gone last summer wine with a bitter. Mike, you've gone all last of the summer wine with a bitter. I know. When I was younger, I always thought bitter was like an old man's drink, but now I'm an old man, it's fine, I can drink it. And it actually doesn't taste too bad. Does that mean I'm getting old? That is the ticket. Skystalker says, by the way, apparently USB-C is very expensive to put in a case. Yeah, it is. There is a very big cost premium for putting USB-C on a case, which is why, if you do get it, it generally tends to be on slightly more premium models. What have I missed now? Captain Meets Adventures. Mike, have you ever set up a NAS with Plex? No. It's the honest answer. I've often contemplated it, but I've never got around to doing it. And actually, that is something I will do at a later date. When hard drive prices come down to a level where they're giving them away, I possibly will set up a server, because I'm actually getting to the point now where I've got a lot of video footage, got a lot of pictures, a lot of data, which I really would like to store somewhere. So a NAS build is going to be something which will come up. Whether or not we'll be going down the Plex route as well, I don't know. Maybe, possibly. Supernight says, looks like airflow will be better with a mesh front in comparison with the new Fantex P400S, which sucks. Yes, there's a lot of strange design choices going on at the moment in the PC industry. ClickTech says there's a GameMax one that uses the same chassis, I think. I haven't seen that, but I will be looking out for it. Skystalker currently has a plexi side panel and it drives me nuts. It scratches so easy. Yeah, I know what you mean. That is one good thing which has actually come out of the kind of the PC evolution, I suppose you'd call it, is tempered glass. It is a lot more difficult to scratch. I remember when I had the, what was it, the Cooler Master Q300 and the Masterbox Lite 5, which still sends shivers down my spine. Both of them had plexi side panels, and I was really scared about actually using them at any point. Aleto says my Lan Li Dynamic is the best case I've owned though so far. Second is the Cooler Master H500. I still am looking out for a Cooler Master H500 at some point. That is something on my my wish list. Right, ClickTech Kev is saying that the GameMax Aurora is the same chassis. It's one of their older cases. So maybe I'll check that one out. Captain Meets Adventures, how many SSD stroke hard drives can it hold? Okay, so officially you've got 2 drives in this bay at the bottom. You've also got room on the front for an additional 2. So technically 4 is what they're recommending. Although, having said that, the mountings here, I think you could easily get 4 drives in there if they're 2.5-inch drives, because you can mount them either side of the actual caddy that they go in. So you can get some on there. If you're a little bit creative, or maybe only use 2 of the screws for the drives, I think you could quite easily get 3 on the inside of there. And again, if you don't mind using a little bit of Velcro or double-sided tape, there's no reason why you can't mount an additional drive here. It looks like actually there's 2 punch-outs here, which look like they could have held a drive cage at some point. So again, if you wanted to, there's actually quite a gap behind the PC for wiring and all that kind of stuff. So you could get another drive in there, and you could even attach one to the side of the power supply if you wanted to. I don't see any reason why you couldn't. There is definitely enough room. You could even get 2 in there, sandwiched together. So technically, I suppose 4, 5, 6, 7. I would say probably 8 2.5-inch drives you could get in here if you wanted to, or probably 4 2.5s and a couple of 3.25s. Definitely quite a lot of drives anyway. Seamanite says it looks better than the case Tech Jesus bought in China. I haven't seen that yet, so that's a bit of a spoiler, but I'll check that one out. ClickTech Kev says I like those caddies, they worked out really well. Letter says hooking up the RGB on her 9 fans was actually fairly easy. Yeah, that is one good thing actually, depending which RGB route you go down. Like I personally, I love this custom setup. It makes it so easy. You've got one cable going from the fan that takes both the RGB and also the PWM control. So I don't know if I mentioned that as well. Although it's got a pass-through for the RGB, so if you've got an RGB enabled motherboard, you can pass the signal straight through to all of the fans. The same goes for the fan controller as well. So not only can you control the fans from the remote control, so you've got variable speeds on the control, you can actually use it in a pass-through. So there's a button on there which says Fan Auto. When you press that, it takes the PWM signal from the motherboard, which there's one connector for. So say for instance on the A320 M-K motherboard, which is very limited on fan headers, you could plug in that controller to that one port, and you can control, well, technically up to 10 fans on the PWM from the motherboard, which for a £10 controller is actually brilliant. And in fact, I've still got the Deepcool, the FH10, which is essentially the same thing, which has virtually none of the features this has, and works really well, but for less money. Go figure. Blind Bar says, question, does the case have NVMe support for M.2 SSDs? It does on the motherboard itself. The case itself doesn't have anywhere you can physically mount them. I have seen actually from Alibaba and AliExpress, I think it was. They're the same thing pretty much. But there is actually an NVMe extension cable you can get. So you can plug the NVMe into your motherboard and run a ribbon cable to the drive, and you can mount the drive pretty much where you want. I'm not sure why you'd want to do that, but hey, it's an option, why not? But yeah, the case itself doesn't have any mountings for NVMe. That is pretty much catered for by the motherboard.
What good RAM?
Dino8's Mike, what good RAM to put in my Asus Prime A320M-K? It's a good question actually. I would say, well, you're looking at a Ryzen 5 3600X. So ideally, if you can, you want to go up to 3600, but I don't think that board supports it quite yet. I think we're still limited to 3466 on the current BIOS revision. So for the sake of the money and value for money, I would stick with some DDR4 3200, purely because it's priced at the moment, and the actual benefit speed-wise between 3200 and 3466 or 3600 even is pretty minimal. In benchmarks you'd notice it, but in general everyday life I don't think you'd ever see it. So something like the V Power RAM I've got in here be a good choice if you want a bit of RGB. If not, Corsair, G-Skill, all the others are totally dropped in price at the moment, so it's actually difficult to not get a good deal on RAM. See him at night. Still not a match for the Zalman Z11, no. No. For those of you who don't know, me and the Zalman Z11, I've just never had much time for that case. If you've ever seen a picture of it, I don't know what it is about that case. It just, I don't like it. I've built on it 2 or 3 times. I used to sell the things years ago. And I always found it a really difficult sell, and I'd always try and advise people not to buy one because it's just such a pain in the backside to actually build and work with, especially with those 2 weird fans on the side panels which are in. Anyway, if you've not seen the Zalman Z11, don't. You're not missing anything. Captain Meets Adventures, Mike, if you set up a Plex server and it needs to be a video, you could also try Kodi. See, Kodi for me, I dislike. And it's a very bizarre thing. I know that a lot of people love Kodi and all those things and getting your Fire Sticks and adding Kodi onto it. I actually don't like using Kodi. I find the interface clunky and horrible, and over the last probably 2 years or so, I've used TTV, which is just a standalone app where you can go to, and actually Kath will probably link a video in because I can see her little fingers typing away. TTV is a little app which has got pretty much the same kind of access. It's just streaming rather than downloading, but it actually just works really well, and it means you don't have to keep on worrying about updates and changing packages and all that kind of stuff. You literally just click on it, it opens up in a browser, and you run it. Which is partly the reason why I've not gone for a Plex server or anything like that, because with TTV I don't really need to. But again, it would be nice to actually experience it and see, when I get a bit of time, it'd be nice to actually sit down and work out what is the kind of the best content platform or provider or whatever it is, and how to actually have that on a PC or something. Mario Giorgio, good evening, or good afternoon, wherever you are, or good morning even. There's another day gone. Captain Meets Adventures, looking at that case, is this what should be happening to mobile phones? You change components instead of the whole phone, especially from an environmental point of view. I guess that is actually pretty much right, actually, because this has got most of the things that you'd probably want in a case, even though it's slightly less expensive and maybe not quite as premium, even though I think it actually looks really good. In saying that, I'm going to turn it around because I like to see the RGB goodness. What's the best angle? I think that's the best angle because you can see the RGB reflecting. There we go. There we go. That's a good angle. I love a bit of RGB. Yeah, I think that is the way to go these days. Just buy a nice case or something you're happy with and then just replace parts when you need to do an upgrade. I suppose if you're selling your whole PC on and you're starting afresh, then I guess you'd get a new case. But I used to do that all the time with the Antec 900 series, which I'd love that case. I had those for 6-7 years probably, all in all, maybe slightly longer than that. And whenever I upgraded, I just kept that case, and because it did everything I wanted to. It had great cooling, which actually was very similar to this because it had 3 120s on the front and a big fan on the back, apart from the big fan on the top. This actually isn't that dissimilar from that kind of setup, that design. Mesh front, 3 big fans, lots of cool air, slow running fans so it's not really noisy. And actually, I don't know if you can tell that actually, I've got my lav mic on, which is just about here, and I am literally like on top of the fans, and I don't know if you can hear them. I don't know if they're even picking up. I can definitely hear the PC behind me because I haven't set the fan curve properly and it's driving me slightly mad, which I've mentioned on a few videos, but I still haven't got around to fixing it. But this is actually on the kind of like the low setting on the fans. Actually, it's pretty much, I can just about make out some wind noise passing through, but, or is that me? No, it's definitely the case. Yeah, it's virtually silent. You can't hear it, you really can't. Brightech09 is in the house. Good evening, Brian. For those of you who don't know, Brightech09 is the grandfather of the YouTube how-to video. So please check out his channel. Hey. Oh yeah, and he's got a massive wallet. So he struggles walking in the park because it's so heavy. It's like walking along with a backpack on. It's a terrible situation for him to be in. It really, really is. Seema Knight says it needs RGB fans on the Arctic cooler as well. Now actually that is something which I think in September is going to be a reality. Arctic Cooling have hinted that there's going to be an RGB release very soon. And they haven't done anything RGB ever. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do and how it comes out, and kind of how their setup's going to work, whether they're going to go 12 volt RGB, 5 volt RGB, addressable, non-addressable, onboard controller, motherboard controlled, but we don't know. But hopefully stay subscribed and you'll find out, because they're hopefully going to send me a pre-release sample so we can all check it out together at the same time and then decide if it's worth spending some money on. Oh, well done. Seamanite says, if it wasn't half the side of a house, I would get the Cooler Master Cosmos. And it also does require a mortgage or a mortgage extension to buy it. That is a really expensive. What is the current price on the Cooler Master Cosmos? It's some crazy price. It's like £400, £500. Wow. ClickTech UK is asking, what lav mic are you using? Yeah, I am using the Boya BY-M1 lavalier mic, which is a powered mic, which actually has got batteries in there. So it actually cleans up the feed, so you can have a very low gain and still get a relatively good quality. I don't know what do you think? Is the audio coming through okay? The audio actually is being patched straight into my Lumix G7 camera, and from my G7 camera via HDMI into the Elgato HD60S, and that is straight into OBS. So I've not done anything with the audio, literally that is as it comes out of the camera. And our gain setting, I think, on the camera is -3, and on the OBS we're at -2. Or sorry, yeah, -2 dB, so -5 in total. For all of you who don't have a YouTube channel or use microphones, you've all just gone, kill me. Brightech says these cheap RGB fans look nice, but don't push a lot of air. Now, actually, yeah, they don't push a lot of air, but when you ramp them up, they do, but they get noisy at the same time, which I suppose is the trade-off. They are actually using a hydro bearing now, rather than using just like a floating coil bearing. So now with the hydraulic bearings, they are a little bit quieter. I did review some of these a little while back, which I think was it the Pirate? No, these are the Pirate Ring. These must have been the Pirate Duo, which they had a slightly different bearing. So these actually are noticeably a little bit quieter. The other ones had a very, very slight click to them. If you've got really close to them, you can almost hear the kind of the mechanical click inside, but these are really good. Dino Gaming, did you say upgrade to 3200 RAM for my motherboard, Asus Premier 320, because I'll write it on my list? Depending on the price. If you, I think you had 2666 on your list already, so again 2666 to 3200, marginal increase in speed, possibly you wouldn't even notice it. And to be fair, in my PC behind me, that has got G.Skill DDR 2400, and this has got 3200, and generally in real use, I've never noticed the difference. And actually, I think probably most people, if you did a blindfold test, RAM speed wise, you'd never notice the difference. Hard drive, SSD, processor, definitely you get a little bit of a feel, a little bit more fluid, that kind of thing. But generally with RAM, I would say going from 8 gigs to 16 gigs, noticeable. 16 to 32, probably not so much. So depending on your budget, if it means spending less money, more money to get 8 gigs of faster RAM or 16 gigs of slower RAM, I'd go with 16 gigs all day long. Seymour Onion. It makes you sound like a white dude. There's probably a good reason for that. Oh dear, yeah, I've got a bit of a tan, but I am actually as far as I know, I am actually an actual white dude, a British white dude. Oh dear. What other questions have I missed out? Because I am actually useless at this whole YouTube thing, as you probably all know. Brightech broke his. Oh yeah, that's right, yeah, because Brightech's got the Boya BYM1 mic. And actually I think there's quite a big following amongst YouTubers who do use the Boya BYM1 mic. It's got a really long cable on it, so even though the camera's over there, you can just run the cable around and do some pretty long distance stuff in it. Because I think it's got a really good sound quality. It's very neutral. Considering there's like no sound padding in this room whatsoever. This is basically our dining room and it's tiny. It's like, what size is it, Gav, would you say? Like 14 foot by 12 foot. It's a small room. It's the UK, we have small houses. Well, apart from Brian, because obviously he's loaded. But for normal people who aren't like elevated to that kind of royalty status, most of us live in like pretty smallish houses. So yeah, you do get like echo and reverb because, well, there's actually no real furniture in here. It's the table, the computer, the microphone, and boxes and boxes of stuff which I've unboxed. Blind Bard says, Mike, you're sounding pretty sharp. Thank you very much, sir. Now, coming from you, that's actually a compliment because you are something of a audio aficionado. Is that the word I'm looking for? You're into your audio. Alexa says, the cool thing about having 9 fans, no pun intended, is they all turn so slow I can't hear them. Yeah, that is a good thing about having lots of fans, or at least one big one. With the Thermaltake, the V21 case had that big 200mm fan on the front, so you could actually get away with a mini ITX or a micro ATX build with just that, pretty much that one fan just turning nice and slowly. It was really good. Bright. Sky Stalker. Oh, hang on, I've missed a question. Seamanite, most decent RAM will push up from one speed level, say from 260, 60, 66 to 2800. Yeah, that's a good point. There's a lot of 6s right there. Sky Stalker, do all 4 fans come with the case? Yeah, this particular one they do. Well, kind of. There's a couple of different SKUs of this case. So there's a stock SKU, which is just the bare case. There's another one I think which you can get with red fans. And there's another SKU which comes with 4 RGB fans and the radio frequency, remote controlled fan controller, hub controller thing. Brightex says Mike is the bronze Adonis. No, it's just the filter on the camera. I'm just a pasty white boy. Sorry, Kath's looking for. Oh, I was looking at that camera. Kath was looking for the what do they call them? Tweezers. I stole the tweezers because I've been plucking hairs out of my ears because I'm an old guy, an old white guy, and dark hairs show up on old white guys. Captain Meets Adventures is saying, your thoughts on Disney Plus? Will you Subsy? Will I hell? Man, the yeah, Disney Plus, all that kind of stuff, all the subscription services, essentially, I don't cater to or subscribe to because I don't have the time. Like Amazon Prime, I get Amazon Movies because it's part of the Prime package, but if it wasn't for that, then I wouldn't be interested. My TV, I don't even know why I bother paying a TV license for because I don't even think I've turned the damn thing on in what? Ages. I can't remember what was the last thing I watched on TV? The last thing I watched on TV
Christmas?
was no, Christmas we didn't watch TV, did we? Or did we? Yeah, might have watched a little bit of TV at Christmas. So that was like 8 months ago. And before that it was the World Cup. And in fact I watched that on the PC, I didn't watch it on the TV, so yeah. Screw you, license fee.
Let's get rid of that.
Yeah, I'm gonna get rid of that. So Skystalker is saying 4 fans plus the controller plus the case with tempered glass side for £80, 130 Canadian or $99 USD is actually pretty good. Yeah, I think it's kind of in that budget territory, borderline into the kind of mid-range area purely because of the price. But when you take into account the additions, and also there's a feature, the 5¼ inch bay is something you don't see on a lot of cases. Now, bizarrely, the one behind me and this one both have it, but other than these two, I don't think there's very many other cases which actually will cater for a 5¼ inch bay. So if you are into your audio and you've got some kind of outputs that you want to put into the front of your case, or maybe you've got some kind of fan controller you want to add in, you want to use your own fans, what else is there in a 5¼ inch bay? Maybe you're into your Blu-rays and you want to use it as a media setup, and you want to have a Blu-ray drive in there rather than using like a USB ones, which actually if you've ever used a USB Blu-ray, it's not a great idea. For some reason they don't work well, whether it's to do with the data rates or whatever, I don't know, but a SATA based Blu-ray drive is far, far better than the USB one. So if you are using a bay for that kind of thing, this is perfect. ClickTech went to put my lad to bed, and when I got back, you turned it into kitchen tech. Oh no, kitchen tech. No, this is dining room tech. This is my dining room. Oh yeah, congratulations to ClickTech UK. You've become a moderator. You now have a spanner. Big blue spanner. Skystalker asks what a TV license is. Right, over in the UK there's this oppressive regime called the British Broadcasting Corporation, and many years ago they thought it'd be a great idea that they had a TV service which didn't have adverts. But in order to pay for the service, you had to pay for the ownership of a TV, or a radio as it was back in the day. So if you had a radio, a TV, you had to have a license to own and receive those channels or those signals. And that's basically something which has gone on since, I don't know, when was it, probably the 1920s or something?
Didn't have TVs then.
I don't know, maybe Brian could let us know because he's slightly older. But basically the BBC is funded by the license fee, essentially, even though the BBC then sells the programmes they make with our license fee to other countries to try and reduce the license fee. The license fee has never ever gone down, I don't think, ever. And it's actually quite a lot of money.
And they are now stopping pensioners from getting it.
Oh yeah, and they used to give the TV license away to pensioners. So if you got over the pensionable age, so 70, 75, whatever it was, 65, because you'd obviously paid into the system for many, many years, the BBC, which was partly funded by the government anyway, would then allow senior citizens to have access to a TV without having to pay the license fee, which is like, was it £150 a year, Kath? Something like that, isn't it? 135, 100, so £155 £150 a year approximately. I haven't got a clue. But yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, you're right, 1922.
Was it 1922 TV license? Yes. Result. I did work for the BBC for a long time, so I should know that crap. Mike, all them lights are flashing. Have you done something to your electric meter? No. Actually, I've just noticed all the lights are the same in here. This is boring. Let's change that. So you can go through different lighting styles, but it kind of works better with the other setup because, actually, let's go for the programmable ones. Now, if you want to see these programmable settings in action, I think Brian did a video on these, a similar setup from Sahara a while back. So you can check out his video, because I don't think mine's released yet. Because actually, I've got a video on these fans as well. Anyway. Hey ho. You get the idea. It's RGB. Lots of RGB. I think I prefer the original. ClickTech says, Brytech09 had TV license 01. Yeah, he was met by Prime Minister Harold Wilson at the time and shook his hand and took his money off him. Blu-ray and 4K Blu-ray is dead. It is. But then they said that about DVD and VHS, and there's still people who collect them. It's very bizarre. What a strange world we live in. We are all spanners, more admins than users, or close. Yeah, it's not too far off it. Right, I think we covered pretty much all I'm going to cover on this case, so let's forget the case for now. So, any other questions? Or actually, what's been going on this week? So we had a new processor, the Ryzen 5 3500, a 6-core non-hyper-threaded, or whatever the terminology they use, from Intel, which looks like it's going to be a alternative for the i5 9400 and 9400F, I think. Why do we need that? What is the point of a nerfed CPU? Obviously, if they've disabled hyperthreading on it, there's a reason for it. And the reason is probably the cores aren't great. So you're not going to overclock it. What is the point? Why not just spend a bit more money? We don't know the prices yet, so that could be the killer feature. If it comes out with 6 cores, 6 threads, and it's kind of like under £100, then it'll sell like hotcakes, but I don't think it will do. Seamanite says, used to have an external DVD drive to rip a CD, the sweet smell of nostalgia. You had to buy one. Oh dear. Aletta says, I heard the 3500 is an OEM. That is quite possible. It just, again, it seems like if you're buying an OEM system and it came with that CPU, which really is a 3600 just with the hyperthreading or the, I don't know, what do AMD even call that? Their hyperthreading technology? I can't remember. Anyway, but essentially to buy that CPU with those cores nerfed, it must be in a pretty bad way silicon-wise. So as far as the silicon lottery is concerned, that chip is a massive loser because it's that bad. Rather than lower the clock speed, they've had to disable functionality, which, yeah, that doesn't sound good to me. Maybe that's why they're going to do it as an OEM, just to be able to get rid of them. Yeah, Brytech says the 3600 at the moment is only £180, making it hard to even recommend the 2600 now at 130. Yeah, and I bought a Ryzen, what did I buy? Ryzen 5 2600 the other day for, I think it was £105 or £109. And I thought that was a bargain, but now the prices are just dropping so quickly, you can hardly keep up with it. It is absolutely insane. It really is. Seymour says, if they stop making the first and second generation Ryzen, then it's probably to fill a lower price bracket as well. Yeah, that is true. It's actually really good. I don't know how you guys and girls feel about it. I'm really pleased that AMD have kind of really upped their game and given Intel a real good ass whipping. For me, it's brilliant because AMD for the last... I've stuck with AMD through and through, apart from probably 1 or 2 units. The Surface, which I didn't have any choice because they didn't do it in the AMD version, and my previous video editing PC, which I bought because it was a absolute bargain. That was an i7-2600K, so that shows how old it was. But other than that, for the last 10 years or so, 12 years, I've been AMD all the way. FX range, Athlon X4s, Athlon X3s, all that kind of stuff. So always being the underdog, but now with AMD kind of really whooping ass, it's such a nice feeling to actually use AMD stuff. I don't know. Has Intel kind of lost favour, and will they regain it with the new Ice Lake stuff? I don't know. Yeah. Captain Meets Adventures, going back to that previous conversation, it shows how behind the UK is with the TV licence, as most people are streaming, using Sky, Virgin, or watching YouTube. That's true, yeah, and actually to watch YouTube and to watch content on a PC, you don't officially need a TV licence. So unless you watch BBC on their iPlayer app or whatever it is. But it would be quite nice actually to not spend the TV licence for the year and maybe buy myself a new processor. I think that would work out. Blind Bar says, I'm also hearing that AMD is catching up with Intel. They are, and actually in price point categories, pick a category. In the categories, price for price, AMD pretty much wins across the board. There's very few places where Intel actually will take control, and also it's really good because it used to always be, if you wanted to play games, really you needed an Intel chip. You could get by with an AMD chip, but really to get those frame rates and also to get that kind of IPC, you needed Intel. But now, it's not happening. Excuse me, I need a cough button. Captain Meets Adventures. I've been off work because he works in a school, and I've been watching 7 hours a day on YouTube. My missus is watching Netflix on her tablet. We hardly watch live TV anymore.
Does he do his hand videos while he's working at school?
Have you been doing the hand videos, or the ham videos rather, at school? I think you should definitely do. I think you should, if there's a playground or an exercise area, I think you should put the ham through its paces. For those of you that don't know what the hell I'm talking about, just Captain Meets Adventures, just go there. If you're a vegetarian, don't go there. But if you're a meat eater and a meat lover, Captain Meets Adventures is something quite special.
And he's cleaning at the school.
Captain Meets Adventures. Anyway, Mike, what have you been watching lately? Well, yeah, Brightex has got a point there. No one does hand videos better than him. He actually could be a hand model. He really could. In the Grattan or Kay's catalogue or Littlewood's catalogue. What have we been watching recently? Mostly recently, I really like watching Casey, I think his name is. Is his name Casey? I can't remember what his name is. The Vegetable Police and Camera Conspiracies, same guy, 2 channels, both kind of comedy channels-ish, but a light-hearted look at certain things. Yeah, very funny. A very strange boy. What else have I been watching lately? That's probably about it. I haven't had much time to watch hardly anything. It's been very little time. Obviously watching some of Brian's videos, just trying to get ideas for my own videos, taking his videos, recycling them and putting out my own content. Thanks, Brian.
Watching Linus and seeing Brian.
Oh yeah, watching Linus Tech Tips the other day, and for some reason one of Brian's videos started playing. That was very bizarre. It actually had Linus Tech Tips is the description and all the stuff underneath, and the comments and all that, but Brian's video was playing above it, actually in the play window. which I still don't understand how that happened. That was very, very bizarre. Let's have a look. What else we got here? Blind Bart says, the fact that AMD has caught up with Intel in terms of IPC performance, I've added IPC, do apologise, I am willing to give their latest generation of processors a chance. And this is from someone who's been using Pentium 4s since the very early days. Seamlight says, there are still cases where Intel are a better buy, but they are less than before. Yeah, it's not as clear cut these days. It used to be there was definite margins where Intel processors would completely thrash AMD, even the early Ryzens on IPC and core performance, but it's now leveling off pretty well. And being that now most games and also a lot of obviously Windows now with the 1903 update, the schedulers changed, so obviously you get better performance. It's also much better with extra cores. So AMD's gamble years ago with the Jaguar chip, which was in the Xbox, which was a multi-core setup, looks like it's paying off. It's taken a while. What's that, best part of 10 years since the Jaguar, I think? How old's the Xbox One been out? No, it's probably less than that. But basically, the AMD multi-core setup, which they always said back in the day, this is the way to go. Now everyone's following it. Okay, so I think that is pretty much it. So coming up this week, oh my goodness, I'm getting too old. I've got my shorts on today, got my legs out and everything. He says, leaning across, so. Oh crap, that was my microphone dying. Good evening, Jack Thomas. A late entry. So this week, what we got coming up? We've got a new microphone from Fifine or Fifine. Actually, American people, they're on board, or Canadians, or anyone in that kind of thing. What brand is that? Is that Fifine or Fifine? I say Fifine, but then I'm not very well educated, so let me know. Although, how are you going to let me know? Because you can't speak in there. You could type it phonetically, maybe.
Or join Discord.
Or join the Discord and shout at me there. Anyway, so we've got a new microphone, which is very very kind of goldy. Not gold as in gold, expensive gold. Goldy as in quite bright and almost offensive. Sorry, Fifine, but I'm going to have to do a review on this. But essentially, it's a condenser microphone. It comes with a stand and all that stuff, and a particularly red cable, which I'm not entirely sure about. But still, we'll do the review, we'll see what it sounds like, and if it sounds good, then we will have a closer look at it. If it sounds like trash, you'll never see the review. But actually, it should be quite good. I've got the Fifine mic, the condenser mic, my USB, which is actually really good. Kev says, Fifine. That's a bit racist. Also coming up this week, I know I said I wasn't going to do it, but technically these aren't AirPods. They are AirPods. They're not AirPods. They're definitely not AirPods. These aren't clones. They are from Paralocus. Not a great company name, I've got to be honest with you. Who thinks, because a locus is, actually is locus, is that the same as a locust? It's not, is it? Is a locust the same as a locust? The animal thing which you get, which are not great. Anyway, this is a set of earbuds from Paralocus, the PLX1, which we'll be doing a review. Now, I've actually listened to these already. I have unboxed them and given them a go. And they are actually really good. And I know I said I wouldn't do any reviews of earphones, but if a good one comes along and it's from a brand I haven't heard before, I am going to take a look at them because it's good for me to see what's out there, and it's also probably good for you. You may be thinking, well, it's summertime, I'm going to be spending some time on the beach or riding my bike in nice weather. I want to listen to some music. So if you don't want to look like one of those Apple sheeple, then these could be right up your street. But again, we'll be taking a look this week, so hopefully the video will be done at some point. Captain Meets Adventures, made up you went live, Mike. Yep, I'm alive. Yay.
Should be able to do it now.
Yeah, we should be able to do it pretty much, hopefully, every Saturday evening now. So make a note in your diary that if you're feeling kind of suicidal and depressed and you want to be cheered up a little bit, or maybe not, or just see someone else who probably feels the same, just come and join us. We're definitely going to work on getting Kath to be on this side of the camera. And even if it means I've got to pay money for plastic surgery, a boob job and hair dye and all that kind of crap, we're going to make it happen. So don't forget to join us in our, what's it called? What's the thing? What's the thing where we beg for money? Patreon. Don't forget to join us on our Patreon and give us some money to help towards Kath's boob job. So every little helps. And it all helps to them not be little. Brian says Mike is going back to his roots with earbuds. That lasted all of a week. Hey, I haven't done any AirPod reviews for a little while. And in fact, actually, I think the last one was probably, it might be almost a month or so actually that I haven't done one for.
That TTV's got like request review.
Blah, blah, blah. Superknight says, check out Rock Jules AirPods. I actually want some of those bone conductive AirPods. They're supposed to be really, really good. I've not tried them. If anyone's tried them, let me know. Let me know what you think of them. Is it worth me getting some to see what they do?
On the 4th of August, you did a resend.
Oh dear. ClickTech UK, you look great with a boob job, Mike. I'll tell you what, about a month or so ago, or maybe more than that, I'd put on over Christmas and all that kind of stuff, and due to slightly ill health, I'd put on probably best part of a stone and a half, and I look at some of my videos and I think, man, I look awful. But I was getting some serious moves going on, you know? And like for a guy my age, that's a bad thing. So slightly healthier living, more exercise, all that kind of stuff, and a little bit of tit tape, and I'm all good. Oh dear. Aletta says, Mike, you don't need all of that stuff. I am actually seriously considering getting hair implants done just for the channel. That could be an interesting video to watch me having loads of needles stuffed in my head.
I'll donate follicles.
But I'm not too sure. Maybe one day.
I'll donate follicles.
See when Mike already had this done. Thank you very much. You're about to get something thrown at you, Mike, I think. No, I'm good. Kath's brilliant. Kath's got a fantastic sense of humour, and for those of you that know me a little bit better than just from YouTube and that, you know what my sense of humour is like. Kath is absolutely brilliant. She takes everything in her stride and she gives it as good, if not better, than what she gets. So there's no worries at all there. And because we're a really strong couple, we can say those kinds of things to each other, and it's just water off a duck's back. She's gonna hurt me later. She beats me. Another question. I've missed a question somewhere probably.
Yeah. Jack.
Oh, Jack Thomas asked, what is a good budget CPU cooler? Now that's a difficult one actually. Depending whereabouts in the world you are, prices are really skewed. So if you're looking for Cooler Master and you're in, I think it's the Asian continent, they're like really, really expensive there, but they're cheaper over here for kind of Westerners. That might be completely wrong. These things happen. The GameMax, the 400, I think it was. Was it GameMax 400, Kath? I think it was, wasn't it? That was actually a really good value cooler at one point. You could pick it up for like 10 to 15 pounds in the UK, which I guess that's what, $15 to $20 in the US. So that was a really good buy. But I think that's started to go up as well. And I think because of these kind of, without getting too political on it, because of the trade tariff wars between the US and China, a lot of the stuff which is coming out from that region, there's price hikes already, and some of us are probably noticing it already. Motherboards, especially at the moment, seem to be going up quite dramatically in some cases. They're getting more expensive, basically. So, depending on the price, if it was between the Arctic 33, the Hyper 2 and 2, or the Master Liquid Lite, The Master Liquid Light is probably going to do better because of the thermal mass, so that's going to take longer to heat up than an air cooler would. An air cooler will saturate much quicker, but is a lot easier to install and to keep an eye on. And water cooling, actually, I don't know if water cooling has maybe had its day. That's quite a bold statement, but there doesn't seem to be much coming out in the ways of new equipment, water cooling wise. It used to be probably even only 18 months, 2 years ago, everybody and their dog was producing a water cooler or an all-in-one of some type. They were flooding the market. Oh wow, that was a great word, flooding, water cooler. Anyway, so there was a lot of them about, and they were really cheap as well. Like the Maelstrom 120EX RGB was like £20, I think, for a 120mm cooler, which actually was really good. But you don't see many of them now. I think a lot of them, because they were cheap, they didn't last. ID cooling, I had a bad experience with one of my coolers, the Aurora Flow 240, where the pump just gave up the ghost. Just, that was it. Luckily it was in warranty and I got it from Amazon, so that went back, so that was alright. But yeah, it's, oh, just noticed Tim's Computer Repair is in the house. Good evening, Tim. Now again, Tim is another YouTuber, so do yourselves a favour, take some time, right click on his link or his profile and check out his channel. Does some really, really good stuff. Anyway, sorry I'm digressing there. Yeah, so water cooling. I think water cooling actually is beginning to come to an end. For the hardcore enthusiast for water cooling, like custom loops, there's still definitely a market for it, and I think that will be for a long time. But I think in the kind of the mid-range and the budget segment, I think air cooling is the simpler way to go, and possibly the more efficient and cheaper. So Jack, I would say if you can't, basically the GameMax 400, the 212 Evo, and the Arctic 33, or any of the freezer range, depending where you are, whichever one's the cheapest, I would go with. There's not really a great deal between them. So essentially they're all 120mm fans with 4 heat pipes, I think. I think they're all 4. Yeah, they're all 4. So there's very little between them. The GameMax, I would say, is possibly maybe the easier to install because of that flexi clip, but essentially they're very, very similar. Oh, we're getting a right load of rabble in here now. We've got Blokey Face, who's another Bristolian. Oh, hang on. Kath says I've got to go up to the poo. Poo. Hello, does it support 360mm radiator on the front because the official website says 240? For this case...
No, that's the GameMax.
What?
Kamikaze. It was on there.
Oh, was it?
I told him to come here.
Right, okay. The GameMax Kamikaze, does that support 360 on the front? I don't think it does. Kamikaze. Is that the one I did last? Yes, no it doesn't. It only supports a 240 on the front because, again, similar to this one, the basement section, you can't get a radiator in there. Well, you possibly could if you didn't mind getting a bit creative, but then you would possibly lose your 3.5-inch bays and 2.5-inch bays on the bottom. Hopefully that answers your question. Yeah, Blokey Face is in the house. Again, another YouTuber, so check out his channel, right click, go to his profile and watch some WWF classics. Alexa says, I still love water cooling, will never change. I do like water cooling. I love the look of it. If you get a really nice setup with really nice clear bends and it just all looks really aligned and nice, I think that is worth spending the extra money on. But I think the days of kind of like the all-in-ones with the flexible rubber tubes and that, they don't look as nice as obviously the custom builds, and air coolers pretty much perform the same, so I don't know. Oh, Welsh Tony's in the house as well. There's another YouTuber. It's like YouTuber Central in here. You go to watch one video and then 13 of them come along. Blokey Face is coming round. Good. Blokey Face says, put the kettle on mic, I'm coming over. In actual fact, all joking aside, Blokey Face lives probably, I don't know, 5-10 minutes away from me. Actually, I'm not putting the kettle on. The kettles cost money. Boiling water costs money. I'm tight.
Lights.
Yeah, apart from obviously all the studio lights and all the computers I've got on. Welsh Tony says, sorry I'm not around much, work at 6 PM, thought he'd say hi. Wow, 6 o'clock, get out, that's bad. But still, got to pay the bills. But thanks for dropping in, Tony, appreciate it. Check out Tony's channel and go like, subscribe and all that kind of good stuff. So, Brightek says, Tim learned from the best. Me? That's Brian, not me. Jack Thomas says, thank you, that's okay, you're very welcome. Brightek says, Mike, that Welsh Tony is a part-time YouTuber. Well, aren't we all? Unfortunately. As much as I'd like to be a full-time YouTuber, which hopefully isn't too far away off the old roadmap. But yeah, it's actually really difficult for actually seeing that most of the people in this chat at the moment are YouTubers. Pretty much most of you can agree that making YouTube videos isn't easy. Getting the idea to start with, if you work in the industry, it's really good because obviously you're seeing things all day long. So oh, that's a good idea, I'll make a video on that. So in that respect, it's really good. And for some of us who have kind of slightly tech-related channels, you're getting questions coming in all day long on your YouTube thing. So you get questions and you're like, oh, actually, yeah, that's an interesting one. I'll make a video on that. So you do get it from that. But making YouTube videos is hard work. And I think people actually don't understand how time-consuming and frustrating it can be at times. It is actually a difficult thing to do. And it takes a certain type of person to actually stick with it for the long haul. Or someone with a slight mental deficiency. Skystalker says we need a mic on calf. I think we'll get taken off air if we do that.
Who said he doesn't think it's the Kamikaze Pro, but that's the one he commented on.
Alright, Pooh says that he didn't think it was the Kamikaze Pro, but that's the one you commented on. So which case is it? You're on about this one? Oh, hey! The RGB lights have come on. Now, in the bottom of the screen, which, can you see? Yeah.
Hey Google, turn off the studio lights.
That thing there. Way. So that light at the bottom, the disco ball light, is actually programmed. I did a video on it ages ago. So if someone sends a super chat in on the channel, then the light goes off, so we know we've had a super chat. So let's. Who's that come from? I didn't see it come in. Captain Meets Adventures. Thank you very much. £2. Happy days. So that's what happens if you send a super chat in. The lights come on.
Hey Google, turn the studio lights on.
I'm going to turn the lights back on now. No.
The ceiling light is not ready.
Right. If anyone's got a Google device, actually, Kath, just press the button because there's going to be people crying because all their Google things are going crazy. Bright light. Wow, there is quite a delay on this stream, I think. That's incredible. There is a massive delay on this stream, so I do apologise. I think it's because I've done this at 50 frames per second. I keep on looking at that screen there, but I should be looking at that screen. Yeah, there is a big delay. So, anyway, moving on. Yeah, I've just noticed now that my stream that I can see on the screen here is literally that light coming on again. So, anyway, moving on. Seaman Knight says, easier with an all-in-one to work around your CPU and RAM as well. Takes clearance issues out of RAM, but it could be out of the equation. The only downside to having an AIO as well is also you do lose any cooling for your VRMs. So if you've not got a particularly good airflow case or you've not got fans pointed in that particular direction, you may actually find using an AIO will actually hamper your overclocking because the VRMs will get too hot and then that will throttle your CPU. So if you've got fans available and you can point them in the direction of your VRM, do that to keep it cool. But if you're looking for really good overclocks, sometimes air cooling is actually easier to do if you're not entirely sure what you're doing or you're just relying on the kind of brute force overclocks. Let's have a look. So ClickTech. Oh. ClickTech UK says YouTube is like a badly paid second job sometimes. Yeah, if you take into consideration the living wage that we have in the UK, which I think is about what £8.20, £8.21, sorry, an hour. If you're over 21 or 25 or something like that. So basically £8.21 an hour. Now, if you're earning £8.21 an hour on YouTube for the amount of hours you put in, you'd be doing pretty well. And it'd be worthwhile doing. I don't think we're quite there yet, considering the hours we put in anyway. And it's not just the hours you see on the camera as well. Like you watch a video which is like 15 minutes, it probably takes an hour to film, plus maybe another hour to edit, plus setting up, taking it all down, research, getting the product, blah blah, all the communication. Then you got all the comments and stuff that you're answering after, and the continual kind of getting involved, which is really good, but it's really time consuming. And I've got like 500 plus videos out, so you imagine the amount of comments that I get on a daily basis over a massive wide range of different subjects. It's actually really difficult to keep up with. So yeah, it is quite a badly paid job. Oh, Captain Meese mentioned a bit skint till payday, but wanted to give a bit back. Bless you, that is very kind of you. Blooky faces like Chasers at Kingswood. It is. Chasers in Kingswood, for those of you that don't know, is a local nightclub. I say nightclub, it's I suppose it is a nightclub, isn't it? A very odd place. Years ago, actually, Peter Andre actually was there live.
Was he?
Yeah. We were there.
Well.
And Arj from Towie, he was there as well. Tim's computer pro says the delay is normal.
Sticky floors.
Watch Tony says it's time for bed. Bedtime. I left you a message in Discord just as a pre-warning. Do as you please, but thought I'd pass the info over. Night all. Oh, I'm intrigued now. Bar says latency is normal, especially if you're uploading UHD video. Yeah, it is quite. Well, it's 1080p at 50 frames per second. I think it's the 50 frames per second which is causing the problem. If I went for 30 frames per second, it'd probably be alright. Less lag. ClickTech UK. ClickTech UK. Kev says, don't do it for the money though. It's for the groupies. Yeah, YouTube groupies. Alexa says, I'd love to make videos, but I can't get my head wrapped around the software. It's actually a pretty steep learning curve. It really is. It really is. Actually, what was I saying earlier? Oh yeah, other review coming up. Some of you are probably bored to death already, but anyway, I've got this come in. This is the Nvme look. Now this is one of those things, this is genuinely really good to review because I actually want it, I really do. And some of these videos you do, you get stuff sent and you're like, would I actually use it? And I do get that with some products. I think, well, I'll do a review, it's kind of cool, but it ends up in a box behind me and never gets used. But this is actually brilliant because in my garden, I've got one of those LED PIR lights, which, you walk down the garden and the lights come on. Now this is brilliant because not only is it a 1080p security camera with two-way speak and all that kind of stuff, it's also got a PIR lamp built in. So my PIR lamp, I've replaced probably every 3 or 4 years because it just stops working because it's rubbish. But this is going to be the answer to my prayers, so I can light up the garden and record it and get feedback from it late at night when I'm upstairs and see, oh, there's noise in the garden, what is it? Oh, it's the cats doing what they do. Or foxes trying to destroy the cats. But I can see all that now in colour with the light on, so I can actually see what's going on rather than being like that kind of weird night vision look where everything's black and white and everyone's got like reflective eyes. This is going to be amazing.
Now you can go through the table.
Yeah. Now, as Kath says quite rightly, if I do want to smash my garden table and fall through the damn thing, I can do so in the privacy of nighttime with a little bit of illumination, so you'll get to see it all in full colour. So that's great. My table dancing days. I've actually rebuilt the table outside. I've made a new one, but unfortunately the palette that I used was actually part rotten, so the edges aren't great. So it might be a little bit of a dodgy one, but we'll see. Oh, hey! And we got another super chat. The lights are on. Disco time. I should turn these lights off, really. So there we've got 5 whole UK pounds from Blokey Face. God bless you, Mary Poppins.
Can you pour some bitter on the floor to make it stick?
So now I'm gonna have to pour some bitter on the floor to make the floor sticky, so it's like Chaser's nightclub with the disco lights on. I like this, the comment section now. Captain Meets Adventures is basically telling everyone to give money for my time. Hey, don't worry about that. It's good that you're all here and you watch the videos and you comment and like it and all that kind of stuff. You don't have to give me money. You can. It's absolutely fine. Yeah, thank you, Andy. Appreciate that. And Asian, is that IQ or LQ? I can't see.
I expect.
Evening Asian LQ or IQ, whichever. Bless you. Thank you for joining us. Unfortunately, you joined us pretty much at the end because it is pretty much time to wrap up. So I think that is pretty much all I can discuss. I've stretched this out as far as I possibly can. Hopefully, for those of you that were interested in the Sahara EK33, because there's no other videos on YouTube for it at the moment, as far as I can tell, because it's new. So if you had any questions or comments about that, hopefully you've kind of learned a little bit about it and seen what it can do and what it looks like, and actually how easy it was to build in, because it was pretty straightforward. Nice big case, lots of routing, lots of management. Does the job and looks pretty good. Although, I will say, I do think, actually I should put the lights on when I'm saying this, shouldn't I? I do think that the default look with those fans and also with the RGB RAM in there, I think it does really look good. If I'm honest, without the RAM and with the side panel on, it is a little bit dark. These RGB LEDs aren't as bright as ones, say for instance in the, what case is that? Charcoon, it says on the side. It's not as bright as a Charcoon LED, so if you want something which is a little bit more subtle, as if that can be subtle, but you know what I mean, this is more subtle. It's quite a nice glow, it's not in your face. Anyway, I'm digressing, so hopefully you've enjoyed the look at the case and a little bit of banter and a little bit of drink and talking about some of the other things that we're going to be reviewing. All of you have been fantastic. Thanks for all your comments, your questions, and the cash. The cash is great, thank you very much. It all helps pay for a calf's boob job. So yeah, I think that is pretty much it. So again, if you've got any comments or questions, put them in the comments section below when the video has been processed and all that stuff that YouTube likes to do. But we'll try and make this a regular thing. So 9 PM, Saturday evening, try and join us for next week. And as I normally say, what do I normally say at the end of the videos, Kath? I forget. It's all gone. Yeah, and hopefully we'll catch you in the very next video. Thanks for watching. Good night all.